Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Finance and Safety Committee meeting of Wednesday, May 30th, 2018. And we do not have a quorum yet, so there's no sense in doing the things that need approval until we get a quorum. I do think we will have a quorum here in a few minutes. So I'll just go ahead and invite the public. If there's anyone from the public that wants to talk about something that is not on the agenda, we have a special time set aside for that right now, if anyone wants to come forward. I don't see anybody, so we will move on to the update on potential enhanced Highway 212 lighting. And Glenn was at the Municipal Utilities Board meeting yesterday.
Yeah, I'll tee this up. This actually, just a real quick overview. This isn't the first time we've discussed this. This is actually coming from the H2020 project. Originally, we've had a presentation before us about this is our chance with the second phase of the Highway 212 project, which will take place in 2021, as far as doing something out of the ordinary as far as street lighting along that section. And we've got the opportunity, but we've got to make a decision fairly quickly, at least in concept, so the state DOT knows can continue making their plans. Now, it's probably too late to do much of anything on the first phase, the phase from Highway 20 to 81. We're probably past that. We got a couple ideas that maybe we can still do something, but the bigger issue is if we want to do something from 81 to 19th Street East as part of the second phase. And we've kicked this around. So we had a presentation before us. There was a group of us that met. Mayor, you were there. Adam, you were part of that. We met with some utility people. Kristen was there. I'm not sure who else. I think street and engineering were also represented. Kicked it around last week as far as, okay, does the concept still make sense? And everybody's kind of on board that, yeah, let's keep kind of pursuing it. It was kind of chicken and the egg between us and the utilities department on this as far as our commitments. Yesterday at the utility board meeting, this was also discussed, and what you see, if you see on the screen or in front of you, was what was presented. The utility board is really open to a number of different options. They would either totally finance the project up front, and that cost would be roughly, and again, these aren't concrete numbers at this point, but gives us a pretty good feel. The extra cost for the enhanced lighting, and we're talking probably 30-foot poles, so the additional poles and a little bit more elaborate design would be somewhere around $559,000 would be the extra cost over and above the standard poles which the DOT would put in. So the utilities would front that totally up front and then charge us a different rate. And I'll kind of walk through these in just a minute. Charge us a street light rate going forward then. On the flip side, if we as a city were to pay for that project up front, that would result in a different rate. And then there's also the possibility, and the H2020 group has said this, that looking at raising some private funding, because we do have some time on this as far as raising or getting the financing arranged. So there is some chance or some hope out there that might be some private funding from businesses, individuals, et cetera, that might buy into this over the course of the next couple of years. So where we're at right now is needing to know whether or not we want to go forward with this, because again, we need to convey our intent to the DOT so they can continue to make their plans. Now, what I'll just do real quickly is walk through what you have in front of you, and I'll probably start. There's actually three different options there. Or three different numbers I want to zero in on. If we go to the bottom one, it says if the city decides to go with the standard lighting, in other words, there's going to be a cost to us whether or not we do any enhanced lighting or not. And that rate, what we're being provided from Adam Karst, the utilities department, would be about $3,400 per year if we just went with the standard lighting with no enhanced or no additional poles. Okay, that's if we did nothing. Now, if we work our way up to the next one immediately above that, if the utility pays the entire upfront cost of $559,000, that would result in a rate to us of about $32,500 would be our annual street light rate for that section of 212. So obviously, it's going to cost us a fair amount of dollars to get that done, but that would be the rate if the utilities pays the entire upfront cost. Now, if the city paid the entire upfront cost of $559,000, that would result in a rate to us of the $10,147. But then we'd also have to maintain an inventory of some extra poles on hand for replacements, repairs, etc. So that would also be an additional cost. So we've got various options here. We don't need to make a decision today as far as which route we're going to go, and that was the approach that the Utilities Board yesterday, too. They said they didn't really care if we were on board. They really didn't care which option we chose. And again, like I say, if we were to get some private funding, that would vary these numbers regardless of which way we went as well. But again, we're to the point of needing to make a decision on this. I've kind of bought into this project since it was pitched to us by the H2O20. I mean, this is our one and only chance the next 40, 50 years or whatever, 212 is going to last out there along that stretch to do something out of the ordinary. Now, there's been some discussion, well, geez, what about the section coming in from the interstate up to 19th Street? Well, that's a conversation for a different day because there's nothing happening with that. If we're going to do it, that would be totally our cost at some point. So that's not really an option today as far as part of this discussion. But we do have the opportunity to do something along that stretch with the second phase from 19th Street East to Highway 81. So I would like to see us pursue this. I don't have any recommendation. I guess at some point, Kristen, we'd obviously want what your input on this as far as which route we go. But I would like to see us give the DOT the okay that we are on board with this. So with that, I'll shut up and open it up for discussion from the rest of the committee or the rest of the council or staff that have been involved in this.
Thank you, Glenn. Would anyone like to make a comment or ask a question? Kristen?
I will just point out in regards to the utilities putting up the cost right up front versus the city. If we did decide to pay for the poles, we could use the CIP, the Capital Improvement Fund 212, to pay for the actual construction of the poles and all of that goes into it. So that would not, that's the one option if we do it that way. As far as the monthly street bill, no matter what, that comes out of the general fund. That's one big number, no matter which way we choose to do that. The one thing, because this is 2021, correct? The one thing that we do have going for us is if the council does decide that this is something we want to do, we want to invest in, we do have a couple years with the long-term CIP to set a little bit of the money aside for something like this. That's what part of our capital improvement plan, our long-term one, does. So it's nice that we do have the advance notice, so we aren't going to all of a sudden have to come up with $559,000. So that's just a few things.
I guess Mayor or Adam, you were at and Shane, you were at the last, the meeting that we held upstairs. Comments from your end, if I might put you on the spot a little bit.
I'd like to add that other communities have done this successfully with funding from the community itself. And you can see upgraded lights in Brookings that were recently installed. Those are the lights that we use to do this estimate of cost for us, using the same lights that Brookings chose. The actual cost will vary depending on the specific design that we choose, and there are some opportunities for us to lessen the total cost if we decide to upgrade, but maybe not go all the way to this level. It does change the appearance of a corridor, and you can see where they have done it, it gives a different feel of the corridor that you're traveling, but it does come with a cost. So people need to weigh that out. Yes, everyone would like an upgrade, but how much are you willing to pay for that upgrade? And if you want to look at what we're doing, drive down, is it Highway 14 in Brookings that they just redid, and they use these lights. Rapid City also has them. Mount Rushmore Road, I think, is where they've used the upgraded lights there. And they're in other places too, but those are two examples that the DOT gave. I just want to add that. Any other comments or questions?
I was in Aberdeen yesterday. Their downtown has the same type of lights. They are considerably nicer than the other ones. Shane, did you get any response back from DOT about possibly painting the other ones?
Yes, I did, and we can handle that by change order, most likely, or could even maybe get that in their budget. But they would entertain changing the color of Phase 1's light poles to match the color that we would choose for Phase 2. So
Yeah, that's one of the things that we looked at for the general public that's sitting there, that we can't change the design and stuff like that, but we can change the color so at least there's a continual color stream through there. At least it would have some sort of uniformity on it. So hopefully that would make it look a little more appealing as well.
Right, and as a comment about the uniformity, the DOT will be reconstructing Highway 212 from Highway 81 to the west to Highway 20 first, and they will not be upgrading the lights in that section. It wasn't even brought to the council. That decision was made to not upgrade the lights in that section. So there is going to be a change at Highway 81. If we do an upgrade, it would only be for the section between 19th Street East and Highway 81. And then going west from there, we will have a new road, but it will have the standard lighting. So there's that to consider too. It isn't like we can do this for the whole stretch. And then there is no reconstruction on the schedule yet for the highway east of 19th Street East. So those lights will just stay like they are. Anyone else? All right. Oh, Dan?
Question, is that common that we might have utilities pay it ahead and then we would pay it by the year? And I didn't figure that out. Is it a cost saving? Would we have money available that we could do the payment of that ahead of time?
Well, and I think that's where the discussion will have to come. Once I think the council wants to move forward with it, then I think we definitely want to sit down and look at the numbers. As I did say, I think with us having a couple years to plan for it, if we want to pay for the actual project up front, I mean, just by looking at the numbers that Adam ran, I mean, it's $22,000 a year that we would be saving if we did the cost up front. So kind of if you spread that out, you know, I think if we can probably afford it, I think it's an option to definitely consider versus having them do it, but then paying for it in our utility bill.
Long term, we'll save money if we put the money up front.
Right, right. Because that rate won't stop once the lights are paid for. They'll continue to charge us the elevated rate forever. And so it'll be paid off in 20 years through utilities. And so, yeah, if we want to save money, we would want to get that money up front and probably do a campaign to see if we can generate community funding, because the H2020 effort was a community effort. They said they want us to improve that corridor, which is where people come into our town and make it look a little better. And this would definitely do that. Glenn?
Just prior to coming to this meeting, a couple of the H2020 people, Luann Strait and Diane Stiles, reached out to me. They apologize for not being able to be here, but they're excited about the possibility, and I think they would definitely be on board based upon comments made just at the utility board meeting as far as some kind of campaign going forward with this. So H2020 is solidly on board with this project. That's where it originated.
Right, and for anyone out there in listening land that wonders what H2020 is, if you don't know, it's a community involvement in visioning what we want for our community in the future. And there was a tremendous participation rate in Watertown that generated a report, and this was one of the things in that report. So this isn't something coming out of the staff or of the DOT. This is coming out of our community asking our council to do this. So it will be ultimately up to the council to decide if they're willing to spend the money to do it, because it costs something. So just want to make that clear. This came as a request from the community. Anything else? Okay, we do have a quorum now, so I'm going to back up to item number 3, which is approval of the minutes from the May 11th and May 16th meetings. Is there a motion and second for approval?
Move the agenda first.
Oh, yes, okay. I'll back up a little farther to item number 1, and we did move things out of order, but approval of the agenda. We should be hitting on everything in the list. Moved by Councilman Vilhauer, second by Councilman Albertson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, John, did you make that motion? I saw a look of disappointment on your face.
No, I just laughed because one of us usually says something and it just comes out of nowhere down here.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just so it gets the job done.
Okay, we've already done item number 2, which is public comment. And now I will look for a motion and second for approval of the minutes of May 11th and May 16th. Moved by Councilman Solom. Second by Councilman Albertson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. We've already done item number 4, which was an update on the potential enhanced Highway 212 lighting project.
Do we want to?
I don't think we need action, do we? We're going to put that on the full council agenda.
Do we want to bring that forward with the recommendation from Finance Committee for approval?
Well, we certainly could. Do you want to make a motion?
I guess I would prefer. I'll make a motion.
Okay.
To move forward or recommend that we do move forward with the enhanced 212 lighting project.
Okay, we have a motion. Can we have a second and then have questions?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Vilhauer, second by Solom, and now discussion and questions.
Do we have our the full committees here at 3? Is that what we need?
That's a
for-
quorum
okay.
with me. I'm a voter. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5 is consideration of a proposal for Great Plains sponsorships. And we have in our packet an actual proposal from Great Plains, and Glenn's kind of been spearheading this effort. Would you like to explain what it is?
Sure, I'll tee this one up as well. It pays the same regardless. So, as you know, we've been engaged with Ryan Query, Great Plains sponsorship for the better part of the last year. Look at some fundraising efforts, pretty well exclusively limited to the Wellness Center at this point. That contract is up now at the end of June. And the discussion, a few of us met in the mayor's office last week, along with Ryan, is whether or not we want to continue any kind of arrangement going forward. Just a real quick recap of the past year. For various reasons, the results weren't quite what we were hoping going in. We essentially got our money back from what we paid, but that's really about it. And again, the reasons, I'm not going to blame Ryan for it, just the various reasons that the dollars and the timing just didn't quite pan out like we were all hoping they would. However, I think we're to the point now that Ryan's made some very good contacts, has a number of things hanging out there that could come to fruition to the tune of probably the numbers that we'd kicked around last week, and Bruce and Mayor, you were there, were around $350,000 that realistically he feels could be generated yet between the Wellness Center and the softball complex. And those would be amounts that should be realized fairly fairly quickly throughout the course of summer and early fall. So we kind of came away with the sense that, no, we don't want to enter into another full-year contract similar to what we did this past year, but we did entertain the option, or he expressed to us, and we kind of bought into this, that maybe we want to look at a 3-month contract, and then on a prorated basis, and we've been paying Ryan $25,000 per quarter, enter into a 3-month contract for $25,000, and then beyond that on a month-to-month basis, if there's still things hanging out there, if we think it's worthwhile to keep him engaged. You know, we've got the ice complex still always hanging out there at some point in the future. So I'd like to see us retain a relationship because of the things that are hanging out there and the potential revenue to be generated for a few more months yet. So that would be my recommendation, that we enter into a prorated contract with Ryan for at least the 3 months, and then at that point a consideration of a month-to-month basis going forward after that.
Okay, I will look for a motion and second for approval or recommendation of this contract, which would be ultimately approved by the council.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Vilhauer, second by Albertson, and discussion. I guess I was at the meeting, and several council members were there as well. I personally feel like this should be done on a strictly commission basis, and I know that I'm alone in that, probably in that opinion, but I don't think that it was profitable for the city, and for whatever reason we really didn't gain anything by hiring him, because we only got what we paid him in sponsorships, which, you know, maybe there are a bunch more sponsorships out there that he can get in 3 months because he's been working on it, or maybe not. We don't know there's no guarantee either way. So it's a risk moving forward in continuing this contract. We'd like to think some of these will come to fruition, but if they don't, we're still paying him in what's proposed, and I don't even see an option for pure commission. I would prefer that if we continue in a contract with him, that we do it on a commission basis. And the argument against that is that, well, there's probably, because he's been talking to people for a year, things that are about to fall into place, and the work that he's already done and been paid for will come to fruition. And then we'll end up paying more than we would have if we didn't pay him a commission. But there's no guarantee of that. And I think when a person works on commission and nothing else, they don't get paid unless they produce. And so there's a huge incentive to producing. Whereas if we're just paying him a flat rate, which is what we paid him before, he's got other jobs too. And we go on faith that he's really focusing on us and not the other communities that he works for. And so I just think, in my opinion, it would be better to hire him on a commission basis. But that's open for debate. If anybody else wants to add to that. Bruce, you were there.
Yeah, Mayor, I can kind of see that both ways, and I was part of that discussion. I guess I respectfully would disagree in this case. I think that we have the confidence, and again, whenever you do these kind of things, I think there's an opportunity for you can be. It might not work out. I mean, you're trying to raise funds, but I do think Ryan's got some irons in the fire. I think he's got a pretty good track record with other communities he's worked with. Like I say, I could see it both ways, and I'm all about commission. I think it's a great thing. But in this particular case, I would have to agree with Glenn that pay him for the 3 months, because the commission side of it can get awfully expensive as well. I mean, it's great if he produces, but it could get very, very expensive. And he did assure us that there are some things pending that look like they will come to fruition. So I would opt for the the flat rate fee in the 3 months. That's my opinion.
The motion was not specific to which option. Were we talking about the flat rate? That's option A.
Option A with the early out option.
Okay. And it's
It's 3 month with then a month-to-month option after that.
and the other option is the subsidized. There's a monthly fee plus a commission.
Right.
So it's a lower monthly fee, but there's also a commission
Correct.
added onto that.
Right.
Dan?
I would think that because he spent a year in this, it would be hard to go back and, because like you say, if he has 350,000 potential, but theoretically, we've already paid him commission on that if that's what he's been working for. So I don't know how it would work to start a commission now. We're in the middle of the stream. A year ago might have been the right thing to do, but I think now it seems like that maybe we would continue this for another quarter and see where he is on this. If he's got 350,000 that is going to come in 3 months, I understand the commission part, but probably should have started in July of last year then.
Yeah, I don't argue if we could roll the clock back this past year that obviously the commission base would have been the route to go. But I think where we're at right now, with the potential hanging out there, coupled with that kind of an awkward transition, if we were to switch compensation methods, I just feel like this is the better way to go with that prorated contract versus a commission basis, which would still include somewhat of a base amount as well.
And I'd like to add too, if I might, $350,000 is kind of what we're looking at right now that we feel like we can achieve. But I believe there's more opportunity beyond that. We could still do quite a bit more than that. There's potential for that. So, I could go either way just about on this, but I think I don't think it's a good idea to change horses in the middle of the stream right now. And I do have confidence in this guy, right, wrong, or otherwise.
Well, and I would like to just clarify, it's not that I don't have confidence in him. I do think we should continue to have a contract with him. I feel pretty strongly that it should be commission only. And the contract is ending at the end of June, I believe. Is that what you recall?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be a new contract, and I see it both ways, but I think we should be doing this on commission, and that's not one of the options. So that he's given us here.
Mayor.
So, yes.
Is this guy? Is it he his own company, or does he work for another company?
He's his own consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess I wasn't here when we hired him initially, but he's got the results and things like that.
He's worked in other communities successfully, yes. And he is working in other communities, which is why I want him on commission, because it behooves him to work hard for us if he's on commission. If he's on flat rate, he's working for numerous other communities at the same time. And, he's probably picking low-hanging fruit. And if you have one job that's commission and one that's not, you're probably going to put more effort into the commission job. That's just my opinion, and I have to say, I'm a civil engineer. I'm not I'm not a financial person. But that's just my opinion.
Mayor, there is option B on the one I'm looking at least.
The hybrid.
The hybrid, right? So you're talking about peer commission.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. Can we scroll up to option B?
So the monthly fee goes from $8,000 to $5,500 plus a 15% or 15% commission. I'm not seeing it in there, but I think, there it is. 15% based on total gross cash revenue secured. So it's a hybrid.
There was
base
also
plus commission.
on the bottom there, it says a formal contract executed by both parties will accompany this proposal, and I don't see it. Has he provided us that?
At this point, what no. So that there is not other than the proposal here, Matt.
Okay, so there'll have to be a separate action on that formal contract.
And we could do that at Monday's meeting then, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if we come out of here with recommendation.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't published the agenda yet. So this would presumably go on the agenda for next Monday for full council action. And if we could, it's probably just his standard contract that he's talking about, and doesn't give you a whole lot of time to review it, but you wouldn't, I mean, the council could act to approve the contract with the approval of the form by the attorney with an acceptable form, something like that.
I just don't see anything on this proposal that there's no space where we check option B or option A. Are we just supposed to circle one, or what are we supposed to do with that?
Let me follow. If I get a sense out of this committee today that how we want to go with this, I'll follow up with Ryan and have him work with you as soon as possible then, Matt.
Okay.
John?
I would rather see option B. I mean, what incentive does he have to do anything if we just pay him? Because in 3 months, he could come back and say, I still have $300,000 worth of stuff hanging out there. We got to have some kind of incentive in there for him to do anything, because he could keep dangling that $300,000 out there for who knows how long. And besides, I think there's something in there too that he doesn't get paid. He gets paid through the lifespan of the contract with the sponsors. Is that correct? The way I read that? Commission will be paid over the life of such agreements.
After receipt by city from sponsor, yeah.
So that would be another bonus for us, because if somebody quits paying, we've already paid him. I mean, he's got to make sure he's got a rock solid commitment from these sponsors, because otherwise we paid him up front and we're not guaranteed we're even going to get the sponsorship money.
I guess just, point taken, John, just doing the rough math with what we've got for options here. I mean, let's say that $350,000 is realizable. Under option B, or even under just a straight commission, under option B, we'd be looking at roughly $70,000 is what we would pay him under option B with the combined commission and the base. And even if we went just a straight commission of, let's just say 15% and knocked out the $5,500, we'd still be looking over $50,000 for that same time period versus the 25.
Yeah, but I'd still rather have a guarantee. I mean, if we got to pay him $1 million commission, that means he's just bringing in that much more for us.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, we have no guarantees on this, but by the same token, Ryan has done a lot of work and made a lot of connection in the community that I think are, very realizable now at this point.
Any other comments or discussion? So just to be clear, we're recommending option A. That was the motion. What? No, but they made a motion.
Yeah, to recommend it.
That
Should amend the motion?
Now,
Motion should be
clarify?
amended to clarify which option you want to
Okay.
recommend.
Okay.
option A.
So we have a motion to clarify the motion?
yeah.
Motion to
Is there
amend.
a motion to approve the modified motion?
Yes.
Second.
Albertson.
Yes.
Second by Albertson. Motion made by Vilhauer. Any discussion on changing the motion to say option A? All those in favor of changing the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. So need a roll call. This is to change the motion.
So
I mean, you're not.
Right. So this would be to amend the original motion to A, and then you'll have another vote on the
This is
amended motion.
Right. This is just changing the motion.
Sorry, Councilman.
Well, let's do a roll call vote. Oh, everybody was aye then. Yeah. Okay. Then okay. Okay. Is there any discussion about the actual action that we'll be taking to recommend option A? All right then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Nay. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, roll call. Vilhauer?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then Albertson?
Yes.
And then Solom?
No.
Okay. And then Mayor?
No. Motion fails.
Motion fails.
So I don't know if we have the option of making another motion or just moving on. Does anybody want to make a different motion?
This can still come before the full council. It wouldn't, without a recommendation.
It would just go before the council without a recommendation.
I would prefer, that's a route I would choose to make at this point.
Okay. Unless someone else wants to make a motion. We'll just move on. Okay. Item number 6 is old business. Is there any old business? None. Item number 7 is new business. Is there any new business? None. There's no. Oh, sorry.
Actually, could be either committee, but I would like to point out that at next Monday's council meeting, we're going to have a brief presentation made by the South Dakota Department of Agriculture community forester by the name of John Livermore, who operates out of Watertown. The emerald ash borer issue is really going to be a hot and heavy topic here in Watertown. And he gave a presentation at the Zoo Society meeting here a number of months ago, and I contacted him, and he'd be more than willing to come and make a brief presentation. And so he will be appearing before us at the Monday night council meeting, just to kind of update the community as far as where we are with this mess and what our options are.
Okay, thank you. Any other new business? There's no need to go into executive session, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Solom, second by Councilman Vilhauer. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. We're adjourned, and we'll give a couple minutes for IT to switch us over, and then we'll go to Public Works.